Phil Foden versus Jude Bellingham. Who would you pick for your team? Yes, they are the best two number 10s in the world, hands down. Yes, they are both English, but more shockingly than that, none of them started in that number 10 position for the international team England in the last tournament. Yes, I'm very shocked also, but if I was to start talking about Gareth Southgate now, I would not be finished. But yes, hands down, in Europe, you can't find better right now. The stats do not split these two. They're absolutely incredible. From the number 10 position, Phil Foden's got 14 goals and 7 assists in the Premier League so far. Jude Bellingham, very similar stats, 16 goals, 4 assists in La Liga. La Liga are being led by Real Madrid and they're most likely to win the league. Man City probably will end up winning the league also. Now, Phil Foden is having the season of his life, but I will say Jude Bellingham has been having this type of season 3 years in a row. Yes, maybe not the stats. Yes, maybe not in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, but he's been growing and growing and growing steadily as he goes along. And let's look at the Champions League stats. Both on 8 goals and assists. Come on, there's nothing to split these guys when it comes to stats. But there is playing styles, there is a few things that you can take into consideration if you want to split them. Now for me, I see Bellingham as the resemblance of a Zidane mixed with a Kaká. He's got the class, he's got the sauce, he's got the ooze, but he's got the physicality, the drive, the skill. He is such a different player to anybody we have seen in the last generation. Phil Foden, they call him the Stockport Iniesta. You know what? For me, he's David Silva combined with something else. I'm not going to go as far as saying Messi because I think that is...
Have you noticed?
What have I noticed? Go on.
Have you noticed that you combined Bellingham to Zidane and Kaká, who both played for Real Madrid, but you're struggling to find another City player, aren't you?
No, I'm not. But I think he's very different to the ones who played at City. I think he's got a lot of David Silva, a lot of Bernardo Silva in him. But you've also got to think, who else does he have in his game? Is it maybe a bit of Yaya, that finishing from outside the box? Is it maybe a little bit of Sergio Aguero, that little bit of movement and bang, pop, find the top of the net? Is it a bit of Sterling? You've got to think, Phil Foden's been around top players from very young. And yes, Pep Guardiola called it out very young. He said, this is the best player I've seen since Messi. When he first came to Manchester City. If I'm being totally honest, I think that was just a bit of a confidence booster. And I'm very critical of people who've been saying Phil Foden. You can see I'm a Manchester United fan. Of course I've got to be critical of Man City fans. But people have been saying Phil Foden is the next best generational talent, blah, 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 blah. If I'm honest, until this season, he's not solidified that. He's always had potential. Last season, he wasn't the main man. Season before that, he was one of the most critical and crucial players for Man City. But then you look back to the seasons before that, and he'd never had this type of season before. And that's what I will say about Phil Foden. This is the first time he's had a best player in the Prem or best player competing with the best players in Europe type of season. So let's see if he can maintain that. Whether Jude Bellingham, I think the trajectory is improving, and he's just walked into Real Madrid and become the man. He goes at the Bernabeu, putting his arms out like he is number one. There's nobody who oozes that level of confidence. We just don't see that type of player anymore. He reminds me a bit of Mbappe, if I'm being honest. Only Mbappe has got that little bit of charisma, that little bit of, total confidence in his abilities. And yes, the guy can dribble, the guy can shoot, the guy can finish, he'll outskill you, he's got a defensive element to his game. So yes, stats are undecided. Phil Foden just kills me this season. The reason why I've had to put him as one of the best of the best of the best is how he takes the ball on the edge of the box and just finds the top corners. That's something he's always had, but now it's just taking it to the next level. In terms of potential, I think Phil Foden can become better than Bellingham, but I am going to make my decision. I have to choose Jude Bellingham because I just think you could take Jude, put him in any team in the world, and he will carry that team forward. Whereas Phil Foden, if you have a look at how he plays for England, you see that it's a bit of the Messi argument. He doesn't have that same level of caliber of player who was on the same wavelength as him. He plays a little bit less. The level goes down a little bit more. But if I'm being totally honest, it's very, very tight, very, very close, and we are very lucky that we're able to see both these players playing right now. They're in a quarter-final against each other, and you know what? Whatever happens in that quarter-final does not change anything. I don't think you could say Phil Foden's better if they win the quarter-final or if they win this Champions League. But if Jude Bellingham on his first season in Real Madrid takes the Champions League and La Liga, I would actually be tempted to say that does set him apart a little bit from Phil Foden because he's been the difference maker for that team. But I'll give some credit to Phil Foden. People used to compare him to Vinny. People used to compare him to other players in the world. I think right now you're looking at nobody else from the youngsters apart from Mbappe that these two are competing with. Are they better than Mbappe? That is a question for another video. But for now, if you are new, please subscribe and do not be a bell. Click that notification bell and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!